Let's make macarons. This recipe works every time. There's only a few ingredients in macarons, and ground almonds is probably the only one that you don't have in your pantry. The egg whites need to be at room temperature. I'm making these macarons for Halloween, so I'm adding some purple food gel. The mixing bowl needs to be really clean when we make the meringue, so I clean it using lemon juice to remove any oils. I add the ground almonds and icing sugar to a food processor and pulse it around 15 times. We want the icing sugar and ground almonds to be a really fine texture, but we need to be careful not to overmix it because the almonds can release oils. I then sieve this into another bowl. There will be some lumps that won't go through the sieve, but we don't want to push them through with a spoon. This will make the shell of your macaron look lumpy. Just discard anything that's left in the sieve. Now we are going to add half of the egg whites. I give this a good mix with my spatula until it turns into a paste-like. If you're colouring your macarons, now is the time to add the colour. It needs to be a gel or a paste because an oil-based colour or a watercolour will change the consistency. Cover this in cling film whilst we move on to the next step. Now it's time to make the hot syrup and meringue. I add the tap water and caster sugar to a heavy bottomed pan and we are going to heat it slowly. At the same time, I whisk the other half of the egg whites. I'm going to heat this slowly until it reaches 118 degrees. You will need a thermometer to know when it gets to this temperature. By the time the syrup is hot enough, the egg whites should be white and fluffy. I slowly pour in the hot syrup. I let it drizzle down the side of the bowl, making sure it doesn't hit the whisk. Once all the syrup is eventually in the bowl, we are going to leave it mixing on the high setting for 10 minutes. I always check to feel if the bowl has cooled down. The meringue should have reached a stiff peak once it's ready. You should be able to turn the bowl upside down and it won't fall out. Now I like to take a tablespoon of the meringue and mix it into the paste. This is just to loosen up the mix. This recipe makes around 25 macarons. You can store them in an airtight container in your fridge up to 3 days. Once the spoonful of meringue is mixed in, you can then add the rest of the meringue mixture. I don't want to knock out any air, so I use the folding technique. We keep folding until we reach the ribbon stage. If it forms a V shape off your spatula, then it's not quite ready. The ribbon should still be visible after a couple of seconds and then fade. I'm using the Gem 2R piping nozzle. I hold the piping bag vertical and squeeze until the circle is full and then twist off. I try to squeeze for the same time on each one so they are all the same size. They need to be around an inch apart. I tap the tray on the side a couple of times. This pushes up the air bubbles. I then use a cocktail stick to pop the bubbles underneath. Now we need to leave the macarons for around 40 minutes to form a skin on top. Bake at 150 degrees for 14 minutes. I use a white chocolate ganache to fill the macarons, but you can use whatever you like.